received this comment asking if I could break down how to draw in negative space. And that is exactly what we're doing today. First demonstration, we are using watercolor paint. Then we're going to go into acrylics and alcohol markers later on. A dirty water and our clean water. A paintbrush, of course. Maybe two. Starting with this photo that I took the other day. Out for a walk, thinking about how I would approach the scene that's in front of me. It's busy and it's certainly not an easy option, but maybe that's good. We can work through it together. Okay, so looking at this reference photo, what is the part that stands out to you? When it comes to negative space, really the process begins before you even start, because you have to approach the scene differently. Looking at this picture, it's the van. That is the focal point. We have to work backwards. Especially with watercolor, the lightest part is the page. You have to start there and then build up the colors. It's the same with alcohol markers though, or any transparent medium. And generally working negative space, this is how it goes. It's layering. We're gonna pop the van down, but focus on the edges. We don't want any of the details to show. Don't have much experience drawing this. And there we go, we have a little van. Next, we wanna choose a really light color. And when you're layering, you have to be mindful of what the colors are gonna look like on top of each other. If you layer red, yellow and blue on top of each other, you're probably going to end up with brown. So choose colours that are similar or the same. I'm going to start off with yellow. The van is our lightest area, so we're just going to go around this and fill the rest of the page. Obviously for this example I used a pencil, but generally you wouldn't do that. Fill all of this in. Okay, that is one layer down. Let's go grab the hairdryer. And next, I would say it's probably actually the trees, because that's where your eyes are drawn to. So this is where we need to simplify. Grab your paintbrush, grab your next color. I think I'm gonna go for an orange. You don't want to go much darker each time because you're gonna build up the layers and get darker anyway. So a similar value. Oh, a couple of points. Firstly, when it comes to negative space, you can choose any colors. It doesn't have to be realistic. And secondly, you might want to avoid shades that have the white pigment in if your goal is to see the colors underneath. Starting on this side, we're going to go around the edges. This tree here, maybe this one here, this one and this one. We're going to try and limit it to 4 trees, but of course play it by ear. Just try and get the rough shape down and try to just go around the outside. You can stylize this. It doesn't have to be exactly as you see. Obviously you can see mine isn't. You do want to try to work quite quickly. Let's pop it a little bit closer to the van. Do one back here. Honestly, this is looking like coral, and we'll pop another one down here. Just gonna have to try and trust the process here, because now we need to fill in the background again. The number of layers you do really depends on your paper type. If your paper is 100% cotton, you can do at least 5 layers. If not, you might want to limit it to maybe 3. And if you're using a big mop brush like this, a soft fluffy one, that's going to be best to not disturb what's underneath. This is the hardest part of negative space. And you can see it's like a little bit more yellow there. That's okay if you want to change your mixture as you go. Okay, they're coming together now. They look a little bit less like coral. Next, we're going to go ahead and dry that layer. Especially if you're using cellulose paper or cheaper paper, it can be a good idea to conserve your layers. What I mean by that is if you know you're restricted, you can only do 2 or 3 layers. Maybe in one of your layers, you approach a couple of areas of negative space. For example, there are clouds. I like to do clouds as negative space because generally you are filling in the background and leaving the focal point white. So in this case, we would add harsh clouds that aren't really there and then paint the background. But maybe on top of that, we want to do the bottom area as well. So we have a couple of areas in one layer. So why don't we move on to a more pinky shade this time? Let's add a really harsh edge to that cloud there. Then there's another cloud over here, which we're going to do as well. Again, we're going to have to work quite quickly because now we need to fill everything in. It's a difficult technique and the way that you approach it is completely up to you. This is just how I might approach a painting like this. Gotta try and work as quickly as you can, and sometimes you probably will go over areas that you don't mean to. Unfortunately, that's just what happens when you're working quickly. I went over a little bit there. It's okay. Now that we've gone around our subject, we need to do the bottom half. I'm gonna quickly go around this fan before it dries. Okay, so we're gonna add our blobs, various blobs, and then we're gonna fill the entire area in. just go all the way down. Got to imagine that these parts will be separated because we do have a wall and we have a road here that's much darker. So even though it's looking a bit odd at the moment, it will be fixed. Okay, so looking at the reference, we have the van, we have clouds, we have trees, we have stuff. We want the road to be very dark, and also this bit here needs to be dark, but we do also have a hill behind. So that probably means maybe the hill and the road in one layer, and then the darkest point will be just around the van, which is actually perfect because it will frame and really highlight that that is our central focus point. But first we need to dry the layer. Whilst we're adding this hill, we could add some more background trees in. What we're going to do is the exact same as before, but in a different layer. Grab an even darker color. This is the color. Add the trees first because they are going to be the hardest. If you have little areas here where you know you're going to have to fill them in, just try and do them as you go, because these are the ones that are going to take longer than doing a larger area. The hill, the reason we're here. So I'm going to pop that in just so we don't lose our guidelines. It doesn't have to be super accurate, just something to follow, and we'll quickly go around this before it dries, and then we'll work to a different area and add a different tree. Now we want to go down to that wall, so I would probably say it's going to be about here. Can go right up against those. Now this area here is going to be completely filled in, but of course if we want to add another little tree stump, some random trees, at this point we're just trying to work it in with what we already have down. Just gradually work through each area. Try and join that up, but we do want to fill in this area because it is touching, and we'll do this area and this one. It's all about adapting and working with what's already down. Tree that's coming off the page, and we'll go all the way down. Whilst it's still slightly wet, we'll just bring it up a little bit. Because we've only added a line here, we can just go straight on top of that even though it's dry and try to drag it down. And that is our next layer. But I think we should have some more lines or texture down here. So we could add various blobs and maybe a little bit more negative space. Of course we still need that edge, but why don't we add some lines to connect the area and then add different blobs inside, maybe like this, and once again fill it in as quick as we can. Let's quickly dry it off. The darkest part is the wall and the road, but we want the focus to be on the van, so we're just going to do the road and work with what we have. So for this I might add a little bit of brown just to make it super dark, and we're going to paint in that road. We're going to start on the left, fill in all the area, and then move to the right, working with what we have that's already down and trying to make it work with our painting rather than what's on the reference. Oop, went over a little bit. Now even though the van is here, I think we want the dark to be all the way behind, because then it's gonna really pop. So I'm just bringing the road a little bit higher to work with our painting, and this is the last chance to get the shape right, so any alterations need to be done now because it is the darkest layer. And once again going around all the trees. Now looking at this, it looks really dark, so I think we're going to take a slightly lighter layer and add the top of a hill here, the darkest point, just to add another dark tone to the painting. Of course if we want to add the wall, we can now add some details. All of these little pebbles, what we could do is just add a little bit of marking here, because really negative space is all about shapes rather than shading. Just add some row grass, and maybe that's what it will start looking like. Just add a couple of little pieces over here. The details can come later on, but if you start with the negative space, then it really just pops off the page. Not going overboard. This is like the final step that you don't have to do, but it can really complete a piece. It's up to you if you want to add any other details when it comes to your original subject. Just a little bit of definition like that. You could also grab a slightly lighter color and just add a bit of markings to the original light areas. Those rocks over here, just a little bit on top, make it fit in with the background a bit better. And similarly, one thing I like to do with the clouds is just follow the edge a little bit, maybe a little bit there for the light. And just like that, we have our first negative space painting. You'll see by the end, it looks a little bit closer to a pattern. Like you can kind of picture this on fabric or something. It's so cute. I love the color palette. And even though it's minimalist, there are details. You can tell exactly what it is. I tell you what, I'll pop this photo over on Patreon and the next one if you want to follow them exactly. Because now we're moving on to alcohol markers. We need a different sketchbook. A super light color, maybe this one. It has pale in the name. And of course I have a cup of tea, obviously. Have you got a drink? This is the next reference photo taken on a different walk. We're not doing as many layers, and having bright white might make this piece look a little bit odd. The bright white works well when it's a small area and there's loads of different shades. But if we're only doing like 3, it might look a bit weird. Oh, that's darker than I thought it would be. Gonna add our box. Just going over, trying to make it really smooth. Probably get a transfer sheet. Maybe a pink? I think the number 1 is the heart. That is our main focal point. So that should be 1 layer. Possibly maybe the clouds. We're gonna ignore that little point. It doesn't add to anything. There's our other cloud there. And then fill in this sky. We should also have the lake and the path, but that doesn't make a lot of sense. So I think we're gonna pull the path down because there's a building back here and the path goes to that, but it really doesn't add to this photo or scene. Aside from that, we do have the trees, which it would make sense for them to be negative space. We're gonna have the same problem as last time because they're very branchy. I like the idea of actually doing the shadow as well if we can. First, we want to leave the heart. That's a given. It needs to be lightest. These trees are in front of this cloud. It's not really going to work because both areas we want to be light. So I'm thinking we don't put the cloud behind it. Maybe the cloud ends somewhere like here, so they're separate. Perhaps we even, because we're not starting on white, maybe we leave the heart and we leave the trees first. Then we will leave the clouds, and maybe we actually want to do the opposite with the ground. So rather than doing the inside, we're actually going to do the background lighter, like drawing a shadow. Of course, we do also have the lake. That's where it gets a little bit tricky. Maybe we do the background as a number 2 as well, and then do the lake and the tree as 3, but we're actually coloring in number 3. Okay, 3 layers. Do we think we can do it? Let's see. Put it to the test. Obviously, we can use any color. It doesn't need to be realistic, but something like pink, purple, blue goes together on the color wheel and will layer quite well. You can also consider layering pink on blue and trying to make purple magically. There's an option. We are starting with light purple already. Maybe a really dark blue. In the middle tier, actually, why don't we end on a really deep violet, and then we'll do that one just before, and then we need a light pink. Maybe this one? I think that might work. This here is the plan. We don't have a sketch, but going in with alcohol markers, it's quite easy to draw as you go along. I'm saying that now. Easier than watercolor. So first up is this pink shade. Of course, we're working in a square, so we're gonna have to mush it a little bit. We have the bottom of the heart here, and then we go up around here. Now, there's obviously stuff going on the inside, but we need to be quite quick with the background. So over here, we have also got the trees, which are gonna look very similar to the other ones. They're just squiggles. And now it's time to fill everything in. All of this. And this is why it's a good idea to choose colors that will kind of go together. I think the hardest part of negative space is really trying to see the vision and trust the process, because most of the time you don't know what it's going to look like until it's done. But it can be a very quick way of creating, which hopefully we're going to see in this next one. And then once all of this is done, okay, there is a door and there are walls. This is a very difficult thing to try and draw, so we're going to simplify it. We're going to go up and across, add the door. Does that look like a door? I'm not sure. Then we can also add little windows at the bottom. Just make it look as much like a hut as you can. Okay, next up, number 2. We are going to be colouring in the sky, but leaving the clouds, and this is going to go on top. So actually, we're colouring in the entire base here, and the lake. So really, it's just clouds. Number 2 is this blue here. Have a cup of tea whilst it dries. Bring back that edge to make it look a little bit better. Okay, so we're trying to picture where everything's going to be. I think the lake will be about here. The heart is a little bit smaller than in the reference, but that's okay. We want to add a cloud here. We could possibly have it go behind the tree. And then all of this needs to be coloured in now. Be careful to try not to go over the lines, especially when you're using a really dark color like this. Oh, I can't believe we're doing more of these trees. They're so difficult. I don't want this area to be too much of a harsh edge because this is actually going to be left in the next layer. In with a lot of all this area down here. You can also re-go over that frame just to bring it back a little bit. Okay, can we see the vision? Next up, we have a really dark purple, but I think the colors are pretty much showing underneath, so hopefully we'll still see what's down. Next, number 3 is all about the shadow from the trees. Ours are a little bit smaller, so we're going to have to adapt. First things first, let's add in the lake, and we are going to curve it round to here to have it come to the bottom of the trees. Don't forget, you can absolutely adapt the piece that you're creating. If there's part of your reference that doesn't really make sense, or it's difficult, or it's not adding to the piece, literally just remove it. That's absolutely fine. Next, we're going to go in all of these areas and do the edge here. And then we're going to add the shadow as best as we can. And this is actually not negative space, it's the opposite, because you can absolutely swap between. This might not necessarily be in the reference, but it makes the colors a little bit more even. You can go one step further and grab a different color if you want to add some more details. Maybe some plants over here. Maybe you want to add some twigs and pebbles and whatever else is going on here on the path. And maybe you want to even add a darker cloud behind to add depth to the piece. You can do that too. Work with what's already there. Really, the negative space is a starting point, and then it's up to you where you want to take your piece. We re-add that frame. I think it might just make it pop. Let's see. There we go. In like 20 minutes, we've taken this loose plan, added a 4th layer with a couple of extra details, and got this. Oh, this is so cute. And hopefully this has explained a little bit how you can take your own references and try and adapt them into a negative space piece. Next, we're talking all about stylizing. Maybe like a green or teal. Yeah, we got those. I'm gonna show you how to do one of my favorite techniques. Oh, maybe we should grab some acrylic markers for this. Honestly, this is my favorite way to do negative space. Why don't we draw a little froggy, if I can? Okay, we will draw our little box, because negative space is all about the background. And you're focusing on the shapes, the outline. Eyes here. Okay, we're already going wrong. Face, but we also need the feet in the background. We need the belly, and it's gonna go down and be the foreground. Okay, you can see I've actually already messed up there, because we don't want to draw anything on the inside. And we'll do the background. And this is negative space. You have an outline, you have something white. This is fundamentally what negative space is. But you can just reuse the same marker. You can create something that's monochrome. And one thing that I like to do is add stars or shapes, some form of pattern that's integrated into both. So say here we could add some stars to our little frog. We then want to add stars in the background, and we could add a couple just dotted around little froggy here, and do some really small ones down here. Then we would want to integrate it into the background to try and turn it into a little bit of a pattern. Go over these a little bit, add a bit of an eye as well, maybe a little nose, a little smiley. Really, this is negative space at its simplest form, but it can get a lot trickier than that. One of my favorite techniques that you might have seen quite a few times on the channel is the cross. Let me show you. I've got a blue and a yellow. They're going to merge together and create green, hopefully. So the first thing we're going to do is draw a yellow box. This is our base color. Oh no, why is this one running out? This is one of my newer colors. Oh, that's a shame. It's okay. A lot of it we're going to be going over. To be fair, it is lemon yellow. It is something I reach for. Although this does not look like lemon yellow in the slightest. That is nowhere near cool enough. You know, I think these might actually work better because they have a fine tip. And again, we're going to redraw that frog. This time it's going to have shapes. We have the eyes. Just ignore that. The belly, and then we'll do the arms kind of separate. You'll see why. Actually, I think we're going to bring the belly down. Maybe that's going to be the mouth. All right, this is terrifying. We're just going to ignore that. Here's the idea. Add a grid, and then you add negative space, diagonal. It will be different to the box that it's next to and below. So if we're leaving this background, but we're coloring in this background, we're going to do just that. And we're also going to do the eye because it's not touching the background. Then we're going to do the same on the diagonal. Okay, so now we're going to grab the background, color all of this in. And this is just one fun way to stylize with negative negative space. Now with the same color, we're gonna do the opposite. So we're gonna fill in the frog, but leave the background. And then we can even grab another color. Maybe we wanna do the arm that is at the front. Oh, forgot a little bit of the frog there. With the green, we could add some stars to this. Maybe a little eye, which we could even add to both. And again, maybe we wanna do the darkest part on this side, the little bit there that I missed. And that took what, like 10 minutes? It's such a cute little fun style to try out. There's another way to go about it. We grab the acrylic markers, these. We could again start with a little box. And this time you could integrate the frog in with the background. So if we just do an outline, see if I can get it right this time. Okay, there we go. If we grab an acrylic, this bright pink, which probably isn't gonna look good. And before we move on to this last one, why don't you give this video a like if you're enjoying it, if you think you've learned something, got any new ideas, it really helps the channel. And of course, a special thanks to my Patreon members. Are you ready for this chaotic concept? If you add a random pattern and you just keep doing it across your drawing, then the other way to integrate negative space is to do it as the opposite. So say this bit that I smudged, it gets colored in now to cover it up. We're gonna fill in the part of the frog in this section, and the same with this one, and here, and this little one as well. Here is also going to be coloured in. And then we're going to do the opposite. So here we're going to do the background instead. And this is just a different way to see negative space, treating each part as though they are opposites instead. It's a very silly idea, but hopefully this might have given you an idea that you can work with, a different way of creating. Well, that's it. I hope this has given you a little bit of insight into negative space and how you can use it with or without a reference. Why don't you go grab your sketchbook and create? It's a lot of fun. Let me know which one is your favorite. Maybe you should go ahead and click that subscribe button, and I will meet you back here in a few days' time.